Um, how does what you do now compare to what you did, let's say, 10 years ago before the advent of social media?
Well, I actually got on Instagram about 10 years ago because I thought that I was going to get exposed to a new audience of people that would potentially hire me. And what I did, because I'm sort of an attention whore, was I just sort of looked and saw what things did well. And those were behind the scenes photos. So if I posted a behind the scenes photo and then a final photo, those got a lot of attention. So I was like, okay, let me post more of that because, more attention will eventually equal more money. So I thought I was going to get more attention and more people following me, and those people would eventually hire me to take photos of them, or take photos for their company. But as it turned out, that's when photographers started following me, and then they started asking me to teach them. And so as it worked out, that did equal um, a new sort of career path for me, but it wasn't the one that I was expecting. I thought, of course, that I would get on there, I would get more clients that would pay me to take photos. Now I end up meeting more people who are hiring me to, or coming to my workshops in order for me to help them get better at their photography so that they can serve their clients better. So for me, I feel like I started off. At the beginning of my career, I started off as a photojournalist. Then, as journalism sort of started to wane about 15 years ago, then I transitioned over into being a full time commercial photographer. And then, with the advent of social media, that switched me over to where 2/3 of the time I'm doing education related stuff, and 1/3 of the time I'm servicing those commercial photography clients. So, it really has changed my life and the trajectory of my life, and I never saw this coming, and, it's really quite rewarding to be able to help all these people on their journey because I didn't have anyone to help me, and back when I started out, um, I think I got my first lights in 1999. um, I just sort of had to figure it out. Like, I had a few mentors, and one of them I thought was pretty good, but he wasn't that good at lighting. He had a very rudimentary understanding now that I look at it in retrospect. Um, and the only advice he gave me was, light goes until it hits something. What else do you need to know? And which sounded pretty sarcastic, but it is very true. Um, and I just sort of had to look at finished photos and imagine how they were created based on my own past experience. Whereas over time, we started to develop blogs, and then you could sort of see behind the scenes photos. The advent of social media, you would see more behind the scenes photos. And now with the advent of YouTube and Reels, like your ability to learn things is like off the charts, just based on all the content is out that's out there. So for me, social media really took me on an entirely new path that I didn't think was going to happen, but it also has allowed me to get inspired by other people's work and then see what they're doing and try that out myself and then learn from that and then share that with others. So it really is quite a wonderful and beautiful thing. So um I'm just glad that we live in the time that we live in and we have all these opportunities to grow our skills and then, of course, help others in the process.
The thing that's, I was thinking about this the other day, actually. The thing about the sort of the impact of social media, and um, just like what you just talked about, it's been very similar for me in the sense that I used to predominantly do commercial work before the pandemic. And the pandemic happened, and I started this podcast, and here we are, whatever 250 episodes later. Um, the real advantage for me has been the fact that before this podcast, I think photography for me was quite a what's the word? Quite a solitary type of profession. You know, you shoot an event, you're there, I mean, you're surrounded by people, but really you're doing your job, you're shooting, then you shoot in the studio. So maybe there might be maybe one, two people there, it's not really an extremely social sort of profession generally, but because of the effects of, social media, it's really propelled me into meeting, a vast group of people that I never thought I would have an opportunity to meet. And so it has literally the word social in the whole thing has literally become true, because I think without it, I would have never ended up going to trade shows like the photography show here in London or, imaging or, whatever it may be. It would have most certainly not led to me making, connecting with this whole range of people, making new acquaintances and friends, and actually also it would it would have never enabled me to learn this much from the people that I've met and the people that I've met on the podcast and had the opportunity to talk to, and it's always to me it's always really fun to talk to people whose work I've either admired or who I've learned from a great deal, like your YouTube channel, for instance, being one of them, you know. And that's always a pleasure to sort of bring that background to the social in social media.
Yeah, and I was just at WPPI a few weeks ago, meeting some of the other speakers. I also went to the World Photographic Cup this week, and I met a few photographers from Mexico and Japan and Europe. So it was just interesting, again, to make relationships with new people that I hadn't met before, discover people's work, also now have an opportunity to keep up with them. And so it's really great. And I'm really grateful for all these opportunities to keep traveling, meeting these people, hanging out with them, and just growing those relationships, and also growing my skills too by being inspired by those people as well.
So you mentioned you started in photojournalism originally. How did you? What was the thing that drove you to using a camera or to photography originally?
So when I went to summer camp around, let's say, age 14, probably, I borrowed my mom's point and shoot camera. And I found that it was a great opportunity for me to start conversations with people and make friends. Because when I was going to school, I probably, let's say, was one of the 10 least popular kids. And I didn't know that there was an extrovert living inside of me waiting to come out. And so I love the idea that I could use that camera to start up conversations and make friends with new people. And somewhere along there, I married that with the idea that I also collected sports cards at the time, and really enjoyed following sports. And so I thought, like, oh, I want to become a sports photographer. So then I started doing that for like the school newspaper and the local community paper. And then that eventually led into a career in journalism, where I worked for a medium-sized daily newspaper. I worked for two of the world's two largest news services, or wire services, where I would create content wherever I was for publications around the world. And it's funny that I went from that kid who loved sports to then going to these sports events and not caring about the sports events themselves, just caring about knowing what was happening and capturing the outcome of the game, and getting the right pictures to match the story that day. Now, actually, I get to photograph. I've come full circle. I get to photograph professional athletes sometimes for their trading cards. And when I do that, I have no idea who these people are. And that if I were, the 13-year-old in me who started in photography would have would freak out at the opportunity that I have today to meet and work with these people. I would also probably be very ashamed of me for the fact that I have no idea who these athletes are usually when I meet them.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.